Hey guys, what is going on? So here I am today bringing everybody an update on my ultimate pet build in Build 31. So in my previous videos, if you haven't watched those yet, I'd suggest going back and watching them. In my pet build part 1 and pet build part 2 videos, I would say that there's a lot of good information in those videos that will get you updated on what I'm going to be covering today. So I've been doing some playtesting and I've adjusted this build accordingly and I've changed some things and I want to bring it to everyone's attention and see if you guys like it, and if you have any input of your own, please feel free to do so. So previously in some of the earlier builds and like 28 through 30, when I was playing pretty heavily, Ultimate was a lot more difficult. Monsters and mobs were a lot less forgiving and they would hit you really hard and crit you really hard. The chance was insane. It's been toned down quite a bit, and since this is the situation, I can actually drop a lot of my defensive ability for offensive abilities, and that's what I've done with this current setup. So, first thing I'd like to cover is that I did change the component in my helmet. I was using a component that reduced stun duration. Now I'm doing the vitality and chaos resist. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to max out as much vitality and chaos resist as I can for running the Bastion of Chaos in-game dungeon. So I have that, and then I actually crafted the Bismeal's Domination. This relic is really good. I wanted one of these for a while, and I finally got a Manticore Eye, and I was able to craft it. So in comparison to my old relic, pretty much without going over every specific little detail, Ancestor is going to be more consistent damage. It's a really good relic. If you don't have Bismeals and you don't have Ancestor and you can get Ancestor first, definitely take the Ancestor. It's worth using. I would say the Ancestor, like I said, is a little more consistent damage throughout a fight. However, Bismeal is going to give you more raw stat, and then the big bonus from this is it's giving your pets the 12% offensive ability, as well as some crit damage and damage. So this is a really good relic. It's going to give your pets a chance to hit and crit more often, like I said before, in the offensive stat. And then on top of that, it's going to put your pets into a frenzy every time you get hit, and that damage bonus from the frenzy is huge. This is going to be a more bursty relic. You're going to be shredding people whenever this is proc. So again, they both are good for many different reasons in certain situations. Moving on to my skills. So I decided to pump the Blood of the Dreeg as high as I could with extra points that I had remaining. I took my point out of Dreeg's Evil Eye, and I took a point out of Sigil Consumption, and I'm using the Bloody Pox now, and there's a reason for that, and I'll be talking about that here in a minute. I threw 1 point into the Hellfire. It was an extra point that I had, and there's a reason for that as well. This is actually a pretty decent buff for 1 point, and it gives it to you and your party, so it's not a bad stat at all. I also put a point into Grasping Vines. Now the reason I decided to put those points into these skills is because these skills are actually proccing my Devotion Tree abilities a lot more often. And someone on my comments mentioned that to me. He said, I use Grasping Vines, and I appreciate the tip because I will say, tested and proved, it is a very good skill to proc a lot of effects from the Devotion Tree. So that is why I'm using that. I took a lot of my points out of Primal Bond. I think I put 11 base into this, and I have plus 1 or 2 from skills. Anyway, you want this to be at 12. And the reason that is because I did a little bit of research, and I found out that anything past 12 points into this, the scaling is terrible, and it's really not worth the amount of points you're investing to pump the stats higher than 12 on this. So you want to try to use those points elsewhere, for example, in the Dreeks. I threw 1 point into the Emboldening Roar, and again, this is a really decent ability for 1 point, so I went ahead and put a point into that. And I'm really liking this build. The way this is going to work is your pets actually have a pretty decent AoE effect at all times, and it gives them really good AoE on top of having really good single target burst. So there's that. So let's go into the devotion, guys. Now in the devotion tree, you're going to put points into the crossroads, the green, and then you're going to put points into the purple crossroad just to get this started and start putting points down into this. And then eventually, once you have these fully spec'd, you can take points out of these crossroads, throw them elsewhere to grab other affinities that you need for going further in this tree. So the way this is going to work is you're going to try to get as many points as you can into the scorpion at first. You're going to take 1 point out of the scorpion, and then you want to get the scorpion sting. The reason why this is really good, and again, I did a little bit of research and I figured out that this is a really good skill because it actually drops the enemy's defensive ability. So you can put this on a pet, the pet will spawn the spikes, it'll hit everything in the area and drop defensive ability. It's super strong, and it makes your pet shred as well as providing some additional AoE. Went in and took the Guardian's Gaze, and again, this one isn't a bad stat. You actually get Chaos and Poison damage AoE with this every time a pet procs this effect, and as you can see, I'm still leveling the skills up. Went in and kept the Shepherds, kept the Raven, kept Bismeal's Bonds, move down here, and I did grab the Manticore. I picked up Manticore and I put it on my Manticore, in fact. So the Manticore pet already has a really nasty dot and has some really mean poison damage. So this just gives him additional poison effects, as well as reducing the enemy's armor by quite a bit and their resistances. So again, this is going to be shredding armor and resist and making your pets do even more damage against the targets that they're fighting. I kept the empty throne, and then I actually came down here and grabbed the Rowan's Crown. Now, this is another pretty decent skill. It's going to give your pets 40% bonus elemental damage. So this is actually going to be a huge buff for your Hellhound. And then with the other talent that I showed you earlier, the 1 point, it's giving him 10% more fire damage as well. So technically this is a 50% fire damage boost. So when you pop his Blazing Death, the AoE on that is really strong, and I've actually seen crits again anywhere from like 60 to like 80,000 pretty consistently, depending on what buffs I have going. So that's why I decided to do that, throw 1 point of that, and then take this. And then you can see a Proxy Elemental Storm effect, which is another really nice AoE for your pets, and then you get some pretty decent resist from it for you and your pets, as well as some Chaos resist. That's really nice. And then I kept Mogdrogan the Wolf as well, simply because it's too good to pass up. So this is how I did my Devotion. Oh yeah, and then one more, one more factor. I put the last remaining point that I had over here in Panther, and this is for the 2% bonus offensive ability to your pets. So you can put the last point wherever you want, but I decided to go with more offensive ability. Okay, so covering all that, like I said, I didn't want to make this too long and drawn out. I'm going to get straight into some gameplay. So if you guys haven't watched my previous pet videos, go check those out, and it'll cover a lot of the other information if you need so. So here we go. You can see all the procs that are going off. They're really strong. You can see all the AoE. And this build just shreds. It just annihilates everything. It's actually really good, and I can't wait to see what it turns out to be whenever I get those skills maxed all the way in my Devotion tree. I'm gonna go ahead and kill that same boss like I did last time. So the idea is, you know, you don't necessarily want to get hit if you don't have to, but if the proc isn't going on the relic, there's nothing wrong with running out there and taking a hit or two. So you can proc that additional 200% pet damage and 60% pet speed, which is awesome. Gonna try to just run to the boss as fast as I can. In the future, I'll probably make some videos on doing like Steps of Torment and Bastion of Chaos. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know, I had somebody ask me actually where to farm loot and gear. Pretty much gear can drop anywhere in the game. I would say that the Steps of Torment and the Bastion of Chaos are probably going to be better for finding gear. However, it can drop everywhere in the game. It doesn't really have a specific area. But I would say that Steps of Torment is also really good for experience if you're trying to level. So keep that in mind whenever you go to do runs. Alright, so here's the boss. Got the proc going. There was a 42,000 crit from the Hellhound, but as you can see, just ripped apart. So there you have it, guys. So I'll do a little more demonstration videos in the future. I was trying to get a video out sooner in the week, but my video kept having errors. I don't know, it was weird. But I finally, hopefully this will work out and you guys will get to view this and get to leave your comments below and tell me what you think. So as always, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave them below. If you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.